billion square meters, 2.5 percentage point narrowed in the first 7 months. The commercial sales of the housing increased by 7.6%, a 2.1% decrease for the first 7 months, and reached 6,545.4 billion square meters. Investment in the tertiary industry, in the secondary industry, decreased but narrowed in the first 7 months. The investment in tertiary industry increased by 7.6%. Investment in the high-tech manufacturing sector increased by the 8.2%. Investment in manufacturing of the high-tech service and manufacturing increased by 8.8% and 7.2%. The investment in the producing of the electronics S&T increased by 13.3% and 7.8%. The investment in the service and service for commercialization of S&T research fundings increased by 7.7% and 18.7%. Investment in the education sector as well as sales sectors increased by 7.7% and 11%. The investment planned increased by 12.1%. The investment already in place increased by 12.1%. Fifth, the continued structure improved in the total sales of imports and exports. Sixth, we look at the stable employment. The 7.8 million jobs added, 2.03 million jobs less than the same period last month. The surveyed unemployment rate decreased, and the surveyed unemployment rate for population aged from 25 to 59 years old decreased by 1.2% compared to the same period last year. And the number in 31 major cities 1.1 percentage lower than the number in July. The employees of enterprises worked 46.8 hours per week, same as the number in July. Seventh, the CPI stable, and the purchase for the producer prices for the industrial production is stable. And eighth, the financial market is stable overall. The national economy is trending in a trend of a steady recovery, and we also work hard to ensure the stability on 6 fronts and also the stability in the 6 areas. But we're still facing the big pressure on the employment, facing the uncertainties and instabilities in the international market. Going forward, we will guide it by steering southern socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era. We instead focus on supply-side structural reform and also stick to the general principle of making progress while maintaining stability, and also focus on the new requirements on our economic and social development work, and make sure that we always find the new drivers, and also let technology produce its role to empower the new engines to drive our economies, and make sure that we do everything to hit the goals set for this year's economic and social development. Now the floor is open. Please identify your media affiliation before asking questions. CMG CCTV. We look at the key index in August. It shows a positive trend with a steady recovery. Would you please show us more the reasons behind, and what's your focus for this year? Thank you for your question. Yes, indeed, just the number I released regarding the national economic performance in August show many encouraging changes. So we focus on the positive side of both the economic and social recovery as well as the disaster recovery. And we also show a lot of numbers actually showed the positive switch from negative to positive. For the first 8 months, the fixed investment and the growth rate actually is so quite close to the positive threshold, and the monthly growth number for the consumer retail sales of consumer goods also showed a positive change. All in all, there are 6 features regarding the economic performance in August. First, we look at a good positive change in terms of the consumption and investment. Right now, China has achieved a major progress in the disease prevention and control. That is why we see more people actually going out to make consumptions, and the number actually increased 0.5%. The number for last month just dropped 1.1%. If we look into details, the total retail sales of consumer goods increased 0.5%, and 0.3 percentage point faster than last month. Last month, the number was 0.2%. And we look at the different regions, and we look at the localities also intensify their efforts to strengthen the production of factors, and that is why we see the increase in the fixed investment. The fixed investment actually narrowed 0.3 percentage points in August compared to the number in July. And we also look at production side. The recovery of the industrial manufacturing sector as well as the tertiary sector actually was faster, and we have seen the manufacturing sector, the 5.6 percentage registered in the total value added of the industrial enterprises above the dedicated sites. And the number for last month actually same as in June, but this month we see a faster number. We look at the tertiary sector. With the recovery of manufacturing as well as a rebound of consumption, and we see the service sector actually also showed a promising number, which was increased 0.4%, 0.5 percentage point faster than the number of last month. And we look at the consumption price actually is maintained generally stable. The localities do everything they can to enlarge the job offered in the market. That is why we also see the good momentum shown in the employment. The newly job added was 7.8 million. 86.8% of the annual target was hit. We look at the unemployment rate. The surveyed unemployment rate in urban area was 5.6%, 0.1% lower than last month. We look at the main entity of the employees, which was population from 25 to 59 years old. The number in August was 4.8%, 0.2 percentage point narrowed than the same period last month. So all in all, our efforts right now generate this positive change. CPI in August increased by 2.4%. 0.3 percentage lower than last month, maintained a moderate increasing trajectory. And fourth, we also look at the foreign investment and the foreign trade, which are better than expected. The import-export increased by 6% in August, 11.6% increase in exports, which all showed a good momentum. The foreign investments actually used increase by 18.7%, which faster than the number of last month. Fifth, we look at the new drivers to drive our economic development. The high-tech manufacturing industry increased by 7.6%, faster than the average of the industrial enterprises above that size. Investment in this sector also increased by 8.8%, maintaining a faster trend. At the same time, we also look at the emerging products also maintain a good momentum. We talk about the robots, the smartphones, smartwatches increased above 70% at least. I looked at industrial robots. The new energy automobiles also increased above 30%. Six, the market entity is also energized. We look at the revenue gained by the industrial enterprises above the lending size. For the first 7 months, it dropped 8.1%. I will look at August alone, July alone, the revenue increased by 19.6%. So the profitability of the enterprises above that size improved, which also injects more confidence to the market. So PMI was 51% for the manufacturing sector. Non-manufacturing sector was 55.2%, maintained 6 months in a row above the threshold. All these numbers showed that the improvement have shown in August in terms of a national economic performance. That being said, all these actually are the steady recovery. The majority of our index actually still a little bit lower than the numbers in the same period last year, and some index still at the downward trend. On top of that, we're also facing a global epidemic on the rise. We also have the risk of imported cases of COVID-19, and also the global economy is still weak. So there are a lot of the uncertainties in the global environment. And domestically, we also have seen the prominent conflicts in our economic structures. So we need to do everything to maintain the employment, which is also a big pressure. So going forward, we will follow the decisions made by CBC Central Committee and State Council, stick to the general principle of making progress while maintaining stability, and also guided by the structural side improvement to make sure we do everything to ensure stability on 6 fronts, to maintain the securities in 6 areas in order to hit the goals set for this year's economic and social development. Thank you. With CNBC, I have 2 questions. One regarding employment. So specifically for the new undergraduates, so what's the overall situation for these group of people? And the second, we look at the consumption. We have seen a positive number shown this year for the very first time. So what's your focus for the trajectory for the rest of this year? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Regarding employment, as the number shown, it already identified the positive changes this year because of the COVID-19. The situation of employment actually faced a tremendous pressures, especially during the COVID-19 outbreak, the big pressure on employment, showing that a 6.6% increase in the unemployment. But if we look at the surveyed urban unemployment rate, was 5.6% in August, 0.1 percentage point lower than last month, and the surveyed unemployment rate for population age from 25 to 59 was 4.8%, 0.2 percentage point narrowed than last month, which showed that the employment was generally stable. For the newly job added, reached 7.81 million, which also on the rising curve. If you look at the key population as migrant workers, so based on our number, actually majority of the people was the migrant workers, and the unemployment rate for the employment for the migrant workers was 5.4%, also a little bit narrower than the last month. And also the government promoted the platform economy and also do everything we can to create more jobs. So that is why you see these good changes. But still, we still facing the remarkable pressures. No matter you talk about the unemployment rate for different age population or for the different sectors or areas, as you mentioned, the graduates, yes, indeed, they had big difficulties. This year we had 8.74 million graduates. Because of COVID-19, when they looking for jobs, it was quite in a hurry for them to find a job. For the students about 20 to 24 years old, the unemployment rate actually increased by 5.4%. If we look at the history, August, based on experience, actually we see a peak number of students rushing into the market and the number will drop in August. But this year we look at because of the COVID-19, the unemployment rate actually will increase in August, which also showed a big pressure on the employment side for graduates. But we should also see that we see a recovery in our economy, which also laid a solid foundation for students to find jobs. And we will also further implement decisions made by CBC Central Committee and the State Council by giving more support, policy support, to the key group of people. That is the answer regarding your questions of employment. Regarding the consumption price, so there was a quite sharp decrease for the early period of this year because of COVID-19. Right now, because the resumption of market and production, overall the market actually is rebound. There are three factors to impact the consumption. First, actually, the household income was impacted because of COVID-19. And second, we have conducted containing measures to curb the spread of COVID-19, such as the management to the sightseeing areas or the cinemas, which was necessary but also impacted the consumption of consumers. And third, the market sentiment as well. So look at these three sectors right now is weakened because the economy right now is in a trend of recovery, so the market actually is generally stable and the employment situation showing positive change. The temporary containment measures also lifted. So look at the scenic spots. Actually, we have seen more traffic allowed. That's also conducive to increased consumption. But on the other side, and also the good thing is that right now we have the more measures to encourage people conducting the consumption, so more people actually consume and are going out. That is why we see the CPI increase for the very first time for this year, which show the three following features. We have seen the continued structural improvement. In August, the total retail sales of consumer goods, such as cosmetics, the telecommunication equipment, jewelry increased in double digits. So we have seen that people already showed their willingness to have a better quality life. So we not only look at the online consumption, we also look at offline sales. The online retail sales of physical goods increased by 15.8%, faster than the same period last month. We look at the offline consumption that also recovered. In August, catering income of the catering decreased by 7%. The number for last month was 11%. So it registered a big decline narrowed. And in terms of the public service sectors, it also showed a good momentum, such as accommodation. Based on our survey, hotels their income of hotels also registered a fast growth. So the goods consumption as well as service consumption all showed positive changes. In August, we talk about the film cinemas, the box office reached half of the revenue last year. The second half of August, the ticket office actually also showed nearly the quite same amount of revenue as last year, same period. Although the total growth of consumption still low, but with the steady consumption recovered, we will see a bigger increase in this sector. Thank you. With Bloomberg.
How will dual circulation work when domestic consumption is weak and household share of national income is flat or going backwards? What reasons will people have to spend when there's no stimulus and no guarantees for income or social security? Thank you.
好，请翻译一下。
你好，我的问题呢是和双循环有关的。现在呢，政府在提双循环，但是呢，国内的消费其实是比较疲软的，而且呢，国民的收入占到 GDP 的比重也不高。那么，人们有什么理由来花费呢？因为他们也对于自己的收入，包括社会保障，感觉呢没有信心。那么他们为什么要去花费呢？为什么要去花钱呢？谢谢。
谢谢您的提问。我理解您其实更关注的还是关于消费的。
My understanding is still regarding the recovery in consumption. If we look at the bigger picture, with a population of 1.4 billion,
那么虽然今年呢受到疫情的冲击呢
，showed the great potential in consumption. This year, because of COVID-19, we have seen a sharp decline in this sector, as I just introduced. We see a recovery in the economy, increase in people's salary. As you mentioned, the social security system this year actually is much improved and upgraded. We look at the household income, especially for the first half of this year, the general transfer payment, especially for the people with the financial difficulties, actually they benefit a lot from this movement. So going forward, we will for sure see the increase in the numbers.
那中间吧，第三排封面。
谢谢。封面新闻记者提问。我们注意到近期东北地区遭受了多轮台风的袭击。想请问对于
So we have seen with the cover, and we have seen that a typhoon actually hit the northwest region of China, which also impacts the food supply. So what's your focus in this regard regarding food security? Yes, indeed. People actually showed greater concern regarding the food supply. Indeed, because of COVID-19, actually we have seen a limitation imposed on exports of food, and also because of natural disasters. So people actually swift more attention to the food security. We look at actually we have seen a bumper year this year regarding the harvest of a summer grain, which increased by 0.9%, and the early rice increased by 3.9%. In total, actually we have seen 4.5 billion tons, 4.5 billion tons of the a summer grain and the early rice. So the pressure actually on the fall grain. So because of flooding, actually that also impacts these areas and the localities. Actually also to think about different ways to fill in the gap. We look at the autumn grain crops actually still in the acceptable range based on our observation. The planting area of autumn grain actually increased than last year. If there's no big natural disaster happen this year, then we have seen a very big possibility of the bumper harvest of autumn grain crops. So it's encouraging results of food security. And in the recent years, especially in the recent 5 years, we always seen the quite sufficient storage of the food security, and that also maintained the 650 metric tons of food harvest. So we for sure can maintain the supply. Regarding the corn price, yes, indeed increased. The reason behind is for the previous years, the production of corn increased quite fast. So we have more storage of corn. So that is why we also make some changes. So 50 million planting areas actually were changed, not planting corn. In order to deal with the storage of corn, so we also have the corn processing enterprises in a northeast region of China. And we're also seeing the increasing demand of fodder to feed pigs. So that is the reason to drive the price increase. So that's more related to the animal husbandry in the sector. And for the next month, we will see the newly harvested corn launched to the market. That will for sure increase the supply of the corn, so that will also bring the stability in corn price. Thank you.
先这边吧，第3排，路头。对，
谢谢，路透社的。请问您预计
Reuters.
4季度经济增长的
For Q3 and Q4 for this year,
有明显的加速。
so the growing momentum will be much better than the first 2 quarters. What's the driving forces behind, and what's the potential risks? Thank you for your question. Regarding the focus of the recovery for the rest of this year, people have a different interpretation. But based on the performance of Q3, no matter it's manufacturing sector or service sector, improved than the number showed in Q2. Look at the number in July. The total value added of the industrial enterprises above that in size increased, and the service index also improved. If we can maintain this momentum, then we can say that the growth rate of numbers in Q3 will be much faster than the number shown in Q2. This is the bigger picture. Talking about the trajectory of economic performance, especially the economic recovery, given the fasting growth of investment and consumption, PPI actually narrowed its decline for the past 3 months in a row, which means actually demand drive the improvement of manufacturing. And 2.5 trillion RMB should be achieved in the cost saving and tax revenue side. That will also bring the further benefit to the enterprises to lower their burden. And also we look at the profitability of the enterprises actually also improved. As I mentioned, in July, the revenue of the industrial enterprises above that same size increased by 19.6%. And also the number for the service enterprises also narrowed, which all create a favorable foundation to achieve better results. That being said, the global economy is still sluggish. On top of that, the COVID-19 pandemic were not contained. So China also facing a big pressure on imported cases. And also we should deal with the instability and uncertainties in global environment. And domestically, we should also deal with the prominent conflict in domestic economic structure. So going forward, we should do everything to ensure stability on 6 fronts and maintain security in 6 areas. Thank you. CMG CNR. I notice that's the realistic department. Actually, the total commercial house sold decreased by 3.3%, 2.5 percentage point declined, and plus the housing price issued yesterday. So what's your focus of the realistic sector? So people actually attach great importance to the realistic sector because of COVID-19. The investment in realistic sector sales showed the dramatic decline with the economic recovery. We also seen the rebound in the realistic market. For the first 8 months, the sales revenue already showed positive numbers, and the floor areas of the commercial houses also showed a narrowed decline. So the government not resort to the deluge measures to pump up the development of the housing sector. We still stick to the same principle and house to live, not for speculation. And we also have seen the demand actually right now unleashed. With further support to the real economy,
降低了一些购房者的这个负担。那么这样的话呢，对于整个房产发展
lessen the burden on the house buyers. That is why you have seen the positive change in realistic market. All in all, no matter from the investment side or the sales side, still maintain at quite a low level, not back to the normal situation. Going forward, the realistic market in China with the policies that further improved, we for sure will see a stable market realized. Thank you.
谢谢经济日报记者提问。8月份
Economic Daily.
出现积极变化的原因是什么？我们是否可以
So what's the reason of the positive change in the industrial manufacturing? Can we understand that the already back to the normal situation before COVID-19? Yes, indeed, we have seen the positive changes. The accumulated growth rate actually also showed positive numbers for the very first time from negative. There are two big reasons. First, demand actually drive manufacturing. We look at the industrial manufacturing showed three features. First is the faster growth. The total value added of the industrial enterprises above that in size increased by 8.6%. We look at the 41 sectors. 70% of them actually showed a positive growth, and 60% of their products also showed positive trend, all higher than last month. And second, we talk about demand actually play a cooling role. With the investment going back, investment-related sectors maintained a steady growth. In August, the manufacturing equipment increased by 10.8%. Two digital numbers. The relevant products like the goods, trucks, excavating machineries all maintained 30% plus growth rate. And second, we look at consumption goods market. With consumption thriving, and also drive a positive number. And the number for this sector actually narrowed 0.2 percentage point compared to the same period last month, which means investment and consumption actually help to recover the market. And third, we look at the internal circulation. We look at the consumption market, the manufacturing market actually also play a key role in order to drive development of upstream. We look at the raw material market increased by 6.6%, 2 percentage point faster. The number for steel increased by 11%, 2 digital number. Another key feature, look at the mining and also the production and supply of electricity, thermal power, gas, and water actually much faster than last month, which means the downstream actually also play a key role in order to drive the whole development of the industrial chain. So we look at the demand, investment, as well as the internal circulation in the industrial sector. But that being said, the industrial production not back to the normal level. A lot of the sectors, the enterprises still facing difficulties, especially SMEs in this regard. Going forward, we will further expand the domestic needs, streamline the industrial chain circulation in order to cultivate a momentum of recovery of industrial sector.
谢谢主持人。
红星新闻记者提问。然后我们看到是8月份的消费者的物价指数是 CPI， 它是同比上涨了2.4%。那么其中
CPI increased 2.4%. Look at the food sector. The pork price increased by 5.6%, 33.1% lower than last month. So what's the future momentum you predict regarding the price of pork, as well as what measures we will take in place in order to guarantee the stable price of vegetables? Thank you very much. Regarding price, this year, a big reason of causing the price changes is the change in pork price. We look at the supply of pork actually increased steadily. The animal husbandry investment increased 70%. And the scale production also improved. The price of pork increased month on month. So production resumed, market recovered, so we also see the increase in demand of pork. So we have seen the increasing in price. But we look at the same period last year actually, a number quite high in terms of the price of pork. So from August to the end of Q4 last year, we have seen a big increase continuously shown in the price of pork. So that is why we have seen a quite big decline in the comparison of year on year. So how to maintain the stability of pricing? So we have quite less possibility of a sharp increase in pork. Regarding the price of vegetables, because of certain areas suffering from flooding, so that impacts the storage and transportation of vegetables. That is why we have seen a little fluctuation in price of vegetables. But overall, the fluctuation period actually really short. That's only the short life situation. So all in all, a stable price of food can be guaranteed. So we look at the CPI first increasing at a higher level, right now declined. We can see the overall price level can be maintained at a quite stable level.
谢谢主持人。第一财经记者提问。从先行指标来看，8月份的制造业 PMI
Thank you very much. With the China Business Network, PMI was at 51%, 0.1 percentage point lower than last month. So can we understand that because China right now slowed down its recovery course, and for SMEs, the number only 7.7%, lower than the 50 mark threshold? What kind of measures will we take to help the SMEs prevailing over the difficulties? Regarding PMI, we should also look at the month-on-month number. So we will see the number is improved or worsened based on a monthly number. If the number showed improved in the next month, which they are above 50 points, which means the enterprises perform better in the next month. So for PMI, actually in 6 consecutive months above 50 points, so look at the month-on-month number, which means enterprises actually perform better than last month. So this is how we look at the number of a PMI. So the fluctuation between months actually is quite normal. But we look at the changes in PMI, people showed positive expectations of economic recovery. Regarding SMEs, yes, indeed. Still in a quite weak situation. The large enterprises actually can play a leading role given the economy is actually recovered. And the SME in the industrial sector, they also showed the faster growth. So we will give more financial support to SME, providing more refinancing tools, as well as the policy benefits in order to help them overcome the difficulties.
第二排。
谢谢主持人，向经济导报记者提问，就是疫情已经控制住几个月了，为什么当初那个预料的疫后报复性消费都没有来？的原因是什么？还有就也有专家认为，
So we talk about the COVID-19 actually is already contained, but we haven't seen a recover in the consumption, or we call it a consumption in revenge. So why we didn't see that happen? Thank you very much for asking another question regarding consumption. As I said, consumption actually showed a positive change, especially the income of the catering is much narrowed compared to the number last month. So right now the epidemic have already been curbed in China, so people have more confidence and more willingness to conduct consumption. But still, because of global pandemic still spreading, so we haven't seen the international tourism happen, but actually that also helped to increase the domestic tourism. So we look at the hotels around the famous scenic spots. Actually, it's quite hard to book. So we see a big changes in the environment in terms of investment, consumption, household income. We'll for sure see the recovery of market as well as different sectors. One last question, please.
我是香港紫金杂志记者。我们看到外商及港澳台商投资企业增长5.3%，想请您评价一下这个港澳企业对我国经济的。
Thank you very much. My question regarding that the enterprises founded by the foreign investment from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan increased.
可以说是比较高的。想请您评价一下港澳企业对我国经济恢复的这个投资。
5.3% at a quite a higher level. Would you please evaluate the role played by the investors from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan? Thank you very much. With the economic development in a faster speed, we have seen a more cooperation happened between Chinese mainland and the investors from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. And we also have seen more investors from these areas doing business in Chinese mainland, which also in turn bring more energy and opportunities for the economic development in Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. We look at the investment or the enterprises founded by foreign investors and investors from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan actually maintain at a higher level of development speed, which means that the investors from these areas actually they cope with the situation proactively, and because as according to my knowledge, I know that a lot of investors from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan actually are doing the business with foreign market. So they also seize opportunities in the fluctuation period. With the Chinese mainland economy rebound, we will see a promising future for investors from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. Thank you very much. And this is the end of the press conference. Thank you.